3 days after the fire, they found her on the roof of what used to be the Silver Spur Saloon, still holding the Winchester, still watching the road. 27 men had ridden into Redemption Springs that October. Only 5 rode out alive. The town wanted to call her a hero. She wouldn't let them. Wind whistled through the burned timber. Crows circled overhead, black against the gray morning sky. The smell of ash and death hung heavy in the mountain air. Marshal Thompson stood in the street below. His boots crunched on broken glass and spent shell casings. He'd seen battlefields during the war. This was worse, because this had been a town, a home. "Mrs. Wells," he called up, "you need to come down. We need your statement." The woman on the roof didn't move. She sat perfectly still, rifle across her lap. Blood had soaked through the bandage on her shoulder. 3 days old now. Should have been changed. Samuel Morrison appeared beside the marshal. A big man well over 6 feet. His left arm ended in bandages at the elbow. The stump was still seeping. "Let me try," Samuel said. He climbed the charred ladder slowly. One-handed now. Everything was one-handed now. "Elle," he said softly when he reached the top. "Time to come down." She turned her head. Gray eyes that had seen too much. Hair matted with blood and soot. Face hollow with exhaustion. "Is it over?" she asked. "Yes. All of them. All of them." She looked back at the road. "Then why am I still watching?" Samuel sat down beside her carefully. The roof groaned under his weight. "Because you've been watching for 7 years. Hard habit to break." Below them, townspeople were carrying bodies to the church. 9 covered shapes laid out in rows. Martha Hopkins, Caleb Hopkins, the Johnson brothers, 5 others, good people who'd picked up guns to defend their home. "How many did we bury from their side?" she asked. 22. The rest ran." She nodded slowly. "And the children?" "Safe, all of them." For the first time in 3 days, something shifted in her expression. Not quite relief, more like permission to stop. "Mrs. Wells," the marshal called again. "Please, people are worried." She looked down at him. "Don't call me that." "Ma'am." "Mrs. Wells, don't call me that." Her voice was flat, empty. "That woman died in the fire." Samuel reached out with his remaining hand, touched her arm gently. "Then who are you?" She was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood, slowly. Everything hurt. The Winchester stayed in her grip. "I don't know anymore." They climbed down together, Samuel steadying her when she stumbled. The marshal waited at the bottom with a blanket someone had brought. He draped it over her shoulders. "I need to know what happened here," he said. "All of it." She looked at the ruins around them. The Silver Spur was gone. Just a skeleton of blackened timber. The hotel was damaged beyond repair. Half the main street had burned. "You want to know what happened?" She met his eyes. "Then you need to go back, 7 days, to when they first rode in." The marshal pulled out a notebook. "Start wherever you need to." She touched the wedding ring she wore on a chain around her neck. A habit, a memory. Then she began. 7 days ago, Martha Hopkins was still alive. 7 days earlier. The morning Martha Hopkins died, she'd been humming. That's what Ellanena Wells would remember later, that Martha had been happy, humming some old song from before the war as she poured coffee. The cafe was warm. Sunlight streamed through the windows, painting everything gold. The smell of fresh bread and bacon filled the air. 4 customers at the counter. 2 miners at a corner table. Ellanena sat with her back to the wall. Old habit. Always watch the door. "You seem lighter lately," Martha said, setting down the coffee pot. She was 65. Gray hair pulled back in a bun. Hands weathered from 40 years of hard work. Eyes kind. "Robert would be glad." Ellanena wrapped her hands around the warm cup. "Some ghosts are quieter than others." 4 years now, isn't it?" 4 years next month. Martha patted her hand. He gave you a good life, that saloon this town, a place to rest. He gave me more than that. Ellenena's voice was soft. He gave me peace. Through the window, 3 black stallions appeared at the end of Main Street, moving slowly, deliberately, dust rising from their hooves. Ellenena's hand moved, not consciously, just an old instinct, checking for the colt she kept concealed beneath her coat. Her fingers brushed the grip, then stopped. Peace, she reminded herself. You promised him peace. More customers. Martha said, not seeing what Ellanena saw. The way the riders moved, military precision, the long coats that could hide weapons, the way they scanned the street like scouts entering hostile territory. The door opened. One man entered alone, lean, scarred face, eyes that moved too fast. He wore a knife on his belt. The handle was wrapped in leather that looked too dark, too worn, like it had been used often. We're not open for, Martha began. The knife came out faster than anyone could react. One motion, smooth, practiced. Martha's words cut off in a wet gurgle. Her hand went to her throat, blood welling between her fingers, eyes wide with shock. The scarred man wiped his blade on her apron, calm, methodical, like he'd done this 1,000 times. Then he looked up at the other customers, smiled. Anyone else have something to say? The miners ran. The other customers froze, terror holding them in place. Ellanena stood, not fast, not slow, just stood, her hand still beneath her coat. The scarred man's smile widened. And who might you be? Martha collapsed behind the counter. The sound of her body hitting the floor echoed in the sudden silence. Someone you should have left alone, Ellanena said. The door opened again. 2 more men entered. The first was tall, distinguished, silver at his temples, expensive clothes. He moved like an officer, like someone used to command. The second was built like a brawler, thick neck, broken nose, gun belt sitting low on his hips. The distinguished man surveyed the room. His eyes lingered on Martha's body without emotion, then moved to Ellanena. Good morning, he said, voice cultured, Eastern education. My name is Ezekiel Bishop. This town is under new management. He walked to the counter, stepped over Martha's body like she was furniture. All businesses will contribute 50% of their profits. In exchange, we provide protection. Protection from what? One of the remaining customers whispered. Bishop smiled. From this. He gestured at Martha's corpse. Ellenena's voice came out cold, flat. Pick up your man and leave. Bishop turned to her fully now, studying her. I don't believe we've been introduced. We haven't, and we won't be. Her hand was still under her coat, still touching the colt. You have 5 seconds, the scarred man laughed. Or what, lady? You gonna serve me bad coffee? Her hand moved. The draw was faster than human reaction time, smooth, perfect. Years of practice condensed into one fluid motion. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. The scarred man's knife exploded in his hand, shards of steel flying. He screamed, stumbled back, blood dripping from his palm where fragments had embedded. Ellanena held the colt steady, aimed at Bishop's chest now, hammer cocked, finger on trigger. That was for Martha, she said quietly. The next one is for you. The room was frozen. Nobody breathed. Bishop stared at her, really seeing her now. The stillness in her stance, the way she held the weapon, not like someone who'd learned to shoot, like someone who'd lived with a gun in her hand. Who are you? He asked. Someone who just made a mistake. Her gray eyes were hard as winter stone. I should have shot you both. I should have shot all 3 of you the moment you rode in. Why didn't you? Because I made a promise to a good man that I'd left that life behind. She glanced at Martha's body. blood spreading across the wooden floor, so much blood. But he's dead, and so is she. Her voice dropped to a whisper. So maybe that promise died too. Bishop raised his hand slowly. We're leaving, for now. Good choice. He backed toward the door. The brawler followed. The scarred man cradled his ruined hand, still whimpering. At the threshold, Bishop paused. I'll be back, with more men, and we will have a longer conversation about your future in this town. I look forward to it. They left. The door swung shut behind them. Ellanena lowered the colt. Her hand was steady, not shaking. That was wrong. That was bad. Normal people shake after violence. She holstered the weapon, moved to Martha's body. Too late, far too late. The wound was fatal, had been from the first cut. Ellanena knelt in the spreading blood, lifted Martha's head gently. The older woman's eyes were already glassy, fading. I'm sorry, Ellanena whispered. I should have been faster, should have seen it coming. Martha's lips moved. No sound, just a last breath leaving. Then nothing. Footsteps behind her. Ellanena spun, gun up, aimed. Samuel stood there, hands raised. Easy, it's me. She lowered the weapon, breathing hard now, the adrenaline finally hitting. I heard the shot, he said. What happened? Bishop's gang. Her voice was shaking now too, everything shaking. She was just... Samuel moved past her, knelt by Martha's body, checked for a pulse even though they both knew. Then he looked up at Ellanena. I've never seen you shoot before, not like that. There's a lot you haven't seen. Who are you, really? She stood, holstered the colt, looked down at her hands, covered in Martha's blood. I used to have another name, before I married Robert, before I came here. What name? Doesn't matter. That woman's supposed to be dead. The door burst open. Caleb Hopkins stumbled in, Martha's older brother, 67, beard more gray than brown. He stopped when he saw the blood, saw his sister on the floor. No. The word came out broken. No, no, no. He rushed to her, fell to his knees, took her in his arms and rocked, making sounds no grown man should make. Ellanena looked away, couldn't watch his grief. Samuel touched her arm. What do we do? She took a breath, then another, pushing the fear down, the guilt, the rage, all of it down deep, where it couldn't cloud her thinking. Get everyone to safety, women and children first. Anyone who can't fight needs to leave town. And the ones who stay, tell them to get ready. Bishop's coming back with more men, and when he does... She looked at the colt in her holster, at Martha's blood on her hands. When he does, they're going to learn what happens when you threaten my home. Caleb looked up, tears streaming down his weathered face. You knew them, those men. You knew what they were. Yes. And you didn't shoot them. You let them walk away. The accusation hung in the air, true and terrible. I made a promise, she said, to Robert, to be someone different. And Martha paid for that promise. His voice was cold now, bitter. My sister died because you hesitated. I know. What kind of promise was worth her life? Ellanena had no answer, because he was right, completely right. She'd known what Bishop's men were the moment they rode in, had seen it in their movements, their eyes, the way violence hung around them like smoke. And she'd hesitated, held on to a promise to a dead man, tried to be someone she wasn't, never again. I'm sorry, Caleb. She met his eyes, let him see what was in hers. But I won't hesitate twice. She walked to the door, paused at the threshold. Samuel, have someone bring down the case from my office, the locked one. Mrs. Wells, stop calling me that. She looked back. Mrs. Wells died when Martha did. Then what do I call you? She touched the wedding ring around her neck. Robert's ring, his promise, his dream of who she could be. I don't know yet, but you'll know her when you see her. She stepped out into the bright morning sunlight. The street was empty now. Everyone had seen what happened, heard the gunshot, watched the 3 riders leave. Redemption Springs was holding its breath. At the end of the street she could see the hotel. That's where Bishop would set up. That's where the cancer would grow. 7 years. 7 years of peace, of being someone Robert could love. Someone gentle, someone who poured drinks and smiled at customers and lived a quiet life, all gone in one knife stroke. The rage was building now, hot and familiar. She'd kept it locked away for so long, fed it scraps of normalcy and hope, tried to starve it out. But rage like hers doesn't die. It waits, and now it was awake. Thunder rumbled in the distance, storm clouds gathering over the mountains. The wind picked up, carrying the smell of rain and dust and coming violence. Ellanena walked back toward the Silver Spur, her saloon, her home, the place Robert had given her. Tomorrow she'd burn it to the ground if that's what it took, because some promises are kept by breaking them, and some women can't be anything but what they were made to be. Behind her, Caleb's anguished wailing drifted from the cafe, the sound of a man who'd lost his last family, his last anchor to anything good. She didn't look back. Looking back was for people with something left to lose. Night fell fast in the mountains. One moment the sun painted everything gold. The next, shadows swallowed the world. Ellanena stood in her private quarters above the Silver Spur. The locked case lay open on the bed. Cherry wood, brass fittings, a rising phoenix inlaid in silver and copper on the lid. Inside, resting in red velvet, were the tools of her former life. The Winchester, custom-made, blued steel barrel, walnut stock inlaid with silver wire in patterns that looked like feathers. Perfect balance. 0 defects. She'd killed men at 300 yards with this rifle. The matched Colts. Pearl grips. Each one fitted to her exact hand size. Lighter triggers than standard. Faster action. The left one had a small notch in the grip. Reminder of the bullet that almost ended her in Denver. The gun belt. Black leather. Ammunition loops. Specialized holsters that let her draw and fire in under a second. And beneath it all, wrapped in oilcloth, the other things. The tools that never appeared in dime novels. Lockpicks, smoke canisters, garrotes. A specialized knife designed for silence. She touched the Winchester. 7 years since she'd held it. The weight was familiar, comfortable, like greeting an old friend you'd hoped never to see again. A knock at the door. "Come in, Samuel." He entered, carrying a tray with coffee and food she wouldn't eat. He set it down on the desk, looked at the open case. His face went pale. "Is that—" "Yes. I've seen weapons like that before. In the war, officers had custom pieces, but those—" He pointed at the Colts. "Those are professional." "They were." She lifted the Winchester, checked the action, smooth, perfect. She'd maintained it every year, even though she swore she'd never use it. Old habits. "There was a woman," she said quietly. "Long time ago, before Robert, before this town. She had a different name, did different work." "What kind of work?" "The kind where you don't retire. You just disappear and hope nobody comes looking." She set the rifle down, picked up the gun belt, strapped it on. The weight settled on her hips, right where it belonged, like it had never left. "They used to call her Quicksilver," she continued. "The woman who could outshoot Annie Oakley, who trained Army Scouts, who could put 6 rounds through the same hole at 100 paces." Samuel was quiet, processing. Then, the dime novels. There were stories about a woman named Quicksilver Blackwood. Most of the stories were lies, made up. The real work never made it to print. "What real work?" She met his eyes. The Pinkerton agency doesn't talk about its best operators, especially the ones who worked special assignments, the ones who went places the law couldn't reach. Understanding dawned on his face. You were an assassin. I was a problem solver. Sometimes that meant killing. Sometimes it meant something worse. She finished buckling the belt, drew both Colts simultaneously. The motion was muscle memory, instinct. But yes, when the job required it, I killed. And Robert knew. Robert saved me. She holstered the weapons. Found me in Denver in a bad place. After a bad job, offered me something different, something clean. Did it work? Being someone else. For 7 years, almost convinced myself it was real. She turned to the window, looked out at the darkening street. Lights were coming on in buildings, families gathering for dinner. Normal life, the life she'd almost had. But it wasn't real. It was just a long dream. And today, it ended. Samuel moved beside her. What are you going to do? What I should have done this morning. What I was trained to do. Which is... She smiled. No warmth in it, just cold calculation. Bishop thinks this is about business, about territory and profit. He's wrong. Then what's it about? Survival. His men killed Martha, in my town, in front of me. She looked at Samuel, let him see what was behind her eyes now. I can't let that stand. If I do, they'll keep killing, keep taking, until there's nothing left. So you're going to fight them? No. She walked to the case, started selecting specialized equipment. I'm going to hunt them. Samuel watched as she prepared, checking weapons, loading ammunition, filling small pouches with tools he didn't recognize. Mrs. Wells. Don't call me that. What should I call you? She paused, considered. Ellanena is fine. It's my real first name, close enough to the truth. And Quicksilver, dead, like I said, the woman I'm becoming. She strapped a knife to her wrist. Hidden, barely visible. She doesn't have a name yet, something between who I was and who I tried to be. That sounds dangerous. It is. She finished her preparations, pulled on a dark coat, long enough to conceal the gun belt but allow fast access. Then she turned to Samuel. I need you to do something for me. Anything. There's a man, Judge Isaac Parker, federal judge out of Fort Smith. We worked together before. Send him a telegram. Tell him Quicksilver says hello. Tell him Bishop's gang is in Redemption Springs. He'll know what to do. That's it. Just that message. He'll send marshals, but it'll take time. 3-4 days minimum, maybe a week. Can we hold out that long? We'll have to. Samuel looked at her, really looked. This woman who'd served him drinks for 7 years, who'd smiled and laughed and seemed so gentle, now standing there armed for war. Who are you? He asked again. I don't know anymore, but I know what I have to do. She moved to the door, paused. One more thing. Get word to everyone. Women and children evacuate tomorrow at first light. Anyone who can't fight needs to leave. Anyone who stays needs to be ready to die. You think it'll come to that? I hope not. But hope isn't a strategy. She descended the stairs. The saloon below was empty. She'd closed it after Martha's death. The piano sat silent, glasses clean and waiting on shelves. Everything frozen in that moment before violence changed everything. She walked to the bar, poured herself a whiskey, stared at Robert's photograph hanging on the wall. I'm sorry, she whispered. I tried. I really tried to be what you wanted. His face smiled back. Forever frozen at 38, forever kind, forever believing in her. But they took Martha, and they'll take more if I don't stop them. She downed the whiskey. So I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to make them afraid. She set the glass down, walked to the door, stepped out into the night. The street was dark. Most buildings had shuttered their windows, locked their doors, afraid of what was coming. At the end of the street, the hotel blazed with light, laughter and voices drifting out, Bishop's men celebrating, probably drinking, thinking they'd won. Ellanena smiled. They had no idea what was coming. She'd spent 7 years being harmless, 7 years being soft, 7 years letting the world think she was just another widow running a saloon. But before that, she'd spent 15 years being something else. Being death that came in the night. Being the Pinkerton Agency's answer to problems the courts couldn't touch. Being the woman who made outlaws disappear. Being Quicksilver. She moved into the shadows, silent, invisible. The night wrapping around her like an old coat. Time to remind the world why they'd feared that name. Time to show Bishop what happened when you woke a ghost. The schoolhouse sat at the edge of town. 1 room, wooden benches, a chalkboard that had seen better days. 20 children learned their letters here, learned arithmetic, learned to be something more than miners and farmers. Tonight it was surrounded. Ellanena watched from the shadows across the street. 4 of Bishop's men, 1 at the front door, 1 at the back. 2 inside with the children. She'd been tracking them for 3 hours, ever since sunset when they'd kicked in the door during evening lessons. Dragged the teacher Abigail Parker back inside by her hair. Started asking the children questions about Mrs. Wells. Where did she come from? How long had she been here? Did anyone know her before she married Robert? The children, terrified, told them nothing, because they knew nothing. But Bishop's men didn't believe that. So they'd kept them, hostages, leverage, a mistake. Ellanena moved, silent, invisible, the way she'd been taught 20 years ago by a Lakota scout named Broken Wing. He'd shown her how to become part of the night, how to move without sound, how to kill without warning. She'd been 19 then, fresh from the war, already good with a gun. He'd made her great. The guard at the back door never heard her coming, never felt the garrote loop around his throat. Just a brief moment of pressure, then darkness. She lowered his body gently, no sound. Inside she could hear voices, one of Bishop's men laughing. "This one's pretty." "What's your name, honey?" A child's frightened response. Sarah. "Sarah, that's a nice name. You know what happens to little girls who lie to me, Sarah." Ellanena was through the back door in seconds. The smoke canister was already primed. She rolled it across the floor. The hissing sound made them turn. Too late. Dense gray smoke erupted, filled the room in heartbeats. The children started coughing, screaming. "Stay low!" Abigail's voice cut through the chaos. Training taking over. Children hands together, line formation, just like we practiced. Good woman, keeping them organized even in panic. Ellanena moved through the smoke like a ghost. She could see clearly. Years of practice in conditions like this. But Bishop's men were blind, disoriented. The first one stumbled past her. She struck, nerve cluster at the base of the skull. He dropped. The second one was smarter, stayed still, gun out, waiting. "Show yourself," he shouted. "I'll shoot the kids." Ellanena's voice came from the smoke, cold, flat. "No, you won't. Try me, bitch. You're already dead. You just don't know it yet." She moved. He fired. The bullet went wide. She was already behind him. Her knife found the gap between his ribs. Quick, surgical. He made a wet sound and collapsed. The smoke was clearing now. Children coughing, crying. Abigail leading them toward the door in a line, hands linked, just like a fire drill. Ellanena caught the last man as he tried to follow them out. Not Bishop's crew. Someone else. Younger, nervous. The scarred one from the morning. The one she'd shot. His ruined hand was bandaged. He held a knife in the other. Held it wrong. Not a fighter. Just someone trying to be scary. "You," he said, recognition in his eyes. "You're the one from the cafe." "Yes. You're faster than I thought." "Most people are, by the time they realize it." He lunged, clumsy, desperate. She sidestepped, trapped his arm, twisted. Something cracked. He screamed. She had him on the ground in seconds, knee on his chest, her knife at his throat. "What's your name?" she asked. Fuck you." She pressed the blade, not enough to kill, just enough to hurt. "Name. James Pierce. They call me Rattler." The name hit her like a bullet. James Pierce. No, it couldn't be. She grabbed his collar, pulled him into the fading light from the street lamp, looked at his face. Really looked. The scars were extensive. Burn marks, cut marks, marks from torture that had lasted months. His face was ruined, barely human, but underneath, beneath the damage, she could see it. The shape of his jaw, the set of his eyes, the way his left eyebrow curved slightly higher than the right. "No," she whispered. He saw her recognition, started laughing, broken, bitter. "Didn't recognize me, did you? Guess 7 years and a lot of pain will do that." "James, don't." The word came out sharp, venomous. "Don't you dare say my name like we're old friends." Her hand was shaking now, the knife wavering. "I thought you were dead." "You hoped I was dead. Made it easier, didn't it? Leaving me behind. Reporting me killed in action. Taking all the credit for the Missouri job." The Missouri job. 1872, 8 years ago. Before Robert. Before Redemption Springs. When she was still Sarah Bennett. Still working for Pinkerton. The flashback hit hard. Missouri. Summer heat. 1872. She'd been 26. James had been 28. Partners for 2 years. Good together. She handled distance work. He handled close quarters. Perfect team. The target was a Confederate sympathizer named Marcus Wells. Not her Robert. Different Wells. This one was running weapons to insurgent groups. Needed to be stopped. The plan had been simple. Infiltrate his operation. Gather evidence. Extract before anyone knew they were there. But it went wrong. Someone tipped Wells. He was waiting. The ambush came at midnight. In a warehouse outside Kansas City. Gunfire. Chaos. Smoke. She'd been separated from James. Heard him shouting. Fighting. Then silence. The choice had been simple. Die trying to find him. Or escape with the evidence that would destroy Wells's entire network. She'd chosen the evidence. Told herself he was already dead. Had to be. Nobody survived what she'd heard. Reported him killed in action. Attended a funeral for an empty coffin. Collected a commendation for completing the mission alone. Never looked back. "They kept me alive for 6 months, James said. His voice pulled her back to the present. Wells and his people wanted to know everything about the Pinkertons, our methods, our contacts. He held up his bandaged hand, the one she'd shot this morning. "You know what they did when I wouldn't talk? They started taking pieces, fingers first, then toes. Then they got creative. James, They carved me up, burned me, broke me, over and over, for 6 months. And you want to know the funny part?" He leaned closer, close enough that she could smell the whiskey and hate on his breath. "I never broke, never told them anything. Kept thinking you'd come back, that you'd realize I wasn't dead, that we were partners, that you'd save me." His laugh was hollow. "But you never came, because you didn't care. You got your prize, your commendation, your career." Ellenena's throat was tight. You thought wrong, and by the time they finally let me go, by the time I'd healed enough to walk." He gestured at his ruined face. "This is what was left. Not enough to go back to Pinkerton, not enough to have any kind of life. So I became this. A killer. A survivor. I did what I had to do, just like you. She should kill him, should finish it right now. He was part of Bishop's gang. He'd killed Martha. He'd threatened children. But her hand wouldn't move. "Why Redemption Springs?" she asked. "How did you find me?" "I've been looking for you for 7 years, Sarah, following every lead, every rumor about a woman who could shoot like Quicksilver Blackwood." He smiled, vicious. "When I heard about a widow running a saloon in Colorado, a widow who'd married a man named Wells, I knew. So this whole thing, Bishop coming here, that was you." I told him this town would be easy. Weak sheriff, no marshal, perfect target. His smile widened. "I didn't tell him about you. Wanted that surprise for myself. And Martha was killing her part of your plan. That was improvisation, needed to wake you up, needed to see if the legendary Quicksilver was still in there, or if you really had gone soft." Ellanena pressed the knife harder, drew blood. "And what did you learn?" "That you hesitated, this morning, at the cafe. You could have killed Bishop, could have killed all 3 of us, but you didn't, because you're trying to be something you're not." He coughed, blood on his lips. "You're not a widow who pours drinks, Sarah. You never were. You're a killer, like me. That's all we'll ever be." "You're wrong." "Am I? Then why am I still alive? Why haven't you finished it?" "Good question." She looked at him. This broken man she'd destroyed. This monster she'd created by leaving him behind. "Because I owe you a debt," she said finally. "And because maybe you're right. Maybe I can't be anything else." She pulled the knife away, stood. "But I'm not killing you tonight." "Why not?" "Because I need you alive. I need information about Bishop's operation, numbers, locations, patterns." "And why would I tell you anything?" "Because I'm offering you something you've wanted for 7 years." "What's that?" "A fair fight, you and me. When this is over, no tricks, no running, just the 2 of us settling what happened in Missouri." He studied her face, looking for the lie. Found none. "You're serious?" "Dead serious. Help me take down Bishop. Give me everything you know. And when the dust settles, you get what you came for. And if you win, then you're finally free. No more hunting, no more hate, just peace. And if I win, then you get your revenge. Either way, this ends." James was quiet for a long moment. Then he laughed. Real laughter this time, tinged with madness, but genuine. "You always were crazy, Sarah. That's what I liked about you." He nodded. "Deal. But I want it in writing. Your word that we fight, win or lose against Bishop." "You have it." She helped him up. He swayed, weak from blood loss, from the fight, from 7 years of being a monster. "Bishop has 27 men," he said. "Main camp 2 miles east. Hidden canyon, defensible position. Security. Professional. Sentries, patrol routes. Ezekiel ran cavalry during the war. He knows tactics." "What else?" "There's someone else. Arrived 2 days ago. Colonel Hargrove, former Army intelligence. He's the real danger." The name made her freeze. "William Hargrove. You know him." "We've met." Her voice was ice. "He has reasons to hate me." "Good. Then you know how bad this is. Bishop's got military training. Hargrove's got experience hunting people like us, and he gestured at himself, "I know every trick you've ever used." "Then we're evenly matched." "No, Sarah, we're all going to die." She smiled, cold, hard. The smile that used to make Pinkerton directors nervous. "Maybe, but we'll take them with us." She bound his hands, not tight enough to hurt, just enough to keep him honest. Then she whistled. Sharp, short. Samuel appeared from the shadows, one-armed now but steady. "Is it done?" "It's done. Take him to the root cellar, under the old Morrison place. Keep him secure but comfortable. We'll need him." Samuel looked at James. "This is one of theirs. This is someone who's going to help us, or die trying." She turned to Abigail. The teacher had gotten all the children to safety. Now she stood in the doorway, calm, collected, stronger than she looked. "Miss Parker, get the children out of town. Tonight. Use the mining road. Don't stop until you reach Silver Creek Junction." "What about their parents?" "Send runners. Tell them it's not safe here. Anyone with children needs to leave, now." Abigail nodded, started gathering the children. They clung to her, terrified but trusting. As they left one of the kids, the girl named Sarah stopped, looked back at Ellanena. "Are you going to save us?" she asked. "I'm going to try." "My papa says you're scary." "I am scary." "Good." The little girl smiled, small, brave. "We need someone scary." Then she was gone, following Abigail into the night. Ellanena stood alone in the empty schoolhouse, blood on the floor, smoke still lingering, the smell of violence and fear. She'd killed 2 men tonight, left one unconscious, captured another, and the night was just beginning. Samuel returned. He's secured, talking already, wants to bargain. Let him talk. We'll need everything he knows. "Mrs. Wells," he caught himself. "Ellanena, what he said, about Missouri, about leaving him, is it true?" "Every word. And you're trusting him now." "I'm using him. There's a difference." She walked to the door, looked out at the town, dark, quiet, waiting. "Tomorrow we gather everyone who's staying, everyone willing to fight. We make a plan. And tonight I visit an old friend." The church basement smelled like dust and old hymn books. Lanterns cast flickering shadows on stone walls. 12 people gathered around a makeshift table. Maps, weapons, the pieces of a desperate plan. Ellanena stood at the head, no longer trying to hide what she was. Gun belt visible, Winchester leaning against the wall, the mask of the gentle widow gone. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I know what I'm asking. I know the risk." Caleb Hopkins spoke first, Martha's brother, eyes red from crying but voice steady. "You're asking us to fight, to maybe die, for a town that might not survive anyway." "Yes." "Why should we? Why not just leave? Let Bishop have it." "Because he won't stop here. This town is just the beginning. Bishop's building an empire, town by town, business by business. If we run, he wins, and he does it again somewhere else." Doc Wallace raised his hand. Older man, 60, gray beard, intelligent eyes behind wire-rimmed spectacles. "What makes you think we can win?" "He has numbers, training, resources. We have something better. We have home, and we have me." "Modest," someone muttered. Ellanena didn't smile. "Not modesty. Fact. I've done this before. Hunting organized crime, taking down operations bigger than Bishop's. I know how they think, how they operate, and I know their weaknesses." She pointed to the map. "Bishop's strength is also his weakness. Military training makes you predictable, disciplined. You follow patterns, rules. I don't." A younger man spoke up, one of the Johnson brothers, Seth, built like an ox. "What's the plan? We divide them, confuse them, make them think they're facing a larger force. We use the terrain, the mine tunnels, the high ground. We hit them when they're not expecting it and disappear before they can respond." "Guerrilla tactics," Doc said, "like the Confederacy tried." "Like the Confederacy succeeded at, for 4 years, against superior numbers." Ellanena met his eyes. "We don't need to destroy them, just hurt them enough that they leave." "And if they don't leave," Caleb asked, "then we escalate." The door at the top of the stairs opened. Everyone tensed, hands moving to weapons. A man descended, tall, wearing a badge. Sheriff Thomas Miller. The room went cold. "Sheriff," Ellanena said carefully, "didn't expect to see you." "I bet." He reached the bottom, looked at the gathered group. Planning something. Town meeting. Discussing safety. After yesterday's incident. That's what we're calling murder now. An incident. What do you want, Miller? He pulled up a chair. Sat. I want to help. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I know what you're thinking, he continued. Sheriff disappears when trouble comes. Shows up after. Convenient. Suspicious. And, Ellanena prompted, and you're right to be suspicious, but not for the reasons you think. He reached up, slowly, unpinned the badge, set it on the table. My real name isn't Thomas Miller, it's Thomas Bishop. The room erupted. Shouts, accusations, guns drawn. He's one of them. Traitor. We should string him up. Ellanena raised her hand. Silence fell. Everyone shut up. Let him talk. Thomas looked at her, gratitude in his eyes. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You've got 30 seconds to explain why we shouldn't kill you. Ezekiel Bishop is my older brother, half-brother technically, same father, different mothers. We grew up in Missouri, before the war. He took a breath. This was hard, old pain. When the war came, I joined the Confederacy. Ezekiel joined the Union. We fought on opposite sides, killed each other's friends. It tore our family apart. Get to the point, Caleb growled. The Battle of Shiloh, 1862. I was captured. Union soldiers were executing Confederate prisoners. Regulations be damned. Ezekiel found me in the line, recognized me, helped me escape, gave me a new identity. Thomas Miller. Told me to disappear. So you owe him, Doc said. I owed him my life. He's used that debt for 20 years. Every time he needed something, information, safe passage, a blind eye, I gave it. And now, Ellanena asked, now he's gone too far. Martha Hopkins never hurt anyone. Those children yesterday. This isn't about business. It's about cruelty, power, everything we fought to stop during the war. He looked around the room, met each person's eyes. I know I don't deserve your trust. I know what I've done. But I'm here. I'm offering to help. Do with that what you will. Long silence. Then Ellanena spoke. I believe him. Everyone stared at her. You're kidding, Samuel said. No, look at him. Really look. He's terrified, ashamed. If he was still loyal to Bishop, he'd be at the hotel, not here, risking his life. Could be a trick, Caleb said. Could be, but I don't think so. She turned to Thomas. Your brother, tell me about him, about everything, his patterns, his thinking, his weaknesses. Thomas nodded. He's smart, patient, plans everything 3 moves ahead. Military mind, cavalry tactics. He'll try to control the high ground, establish supply lines, secure the approaches. Weaknesses. Pride. He thinks he's the smartest person in any room, and he has a blind spot for family. He'd never believe I'd betray him, even now, even after everything. We can use that. Doc Wallace stood. Wait, before we go any further, there's something I need to say. Everyone turned. His hands were shaking, face pale. I need to tell you something. About Bishop's men. About information. Ellanena's eyes narrowed. What did you do, Doc? They have my niece, Emily, 16 years old. They took her 3 days ago, before Bishop even came to town. Grabbed her on the road to Denver. Sent me proof. A letter, in her handwriting, begging me to cooperate. Cooperate how? Caleb's voice was dangerous. They want information. About you, Ellanena. About anyone planning resistance. They said if I didn't help. His voice broke. They said they'd hurt her. Do things. Terrible things. So you've been spying for them. No, I swear. They just approached me yesterday. After Martha. They wanted to know if you were organizing. I told them I didn't know anything, but they didn't believe me. They gave me until tomorrow, said if I didn't report, Emily dies. Ellanena moved to him, put a hand on his shoulder, not gentle, firm. Doc, look at me. He did, tears streaming. Where is she? Where are they holding her? Hotel basement, locked room. I saw her through a window. She's alive, but scared. So scared. We'll get her out. You can't promise that. Yes, I can, because that's what we're good at, getting people out of impossible situations. She turned to the group. Change of plans. Before we do anything else, we rescue Doc's niece. Tonight. That's suicide, Seth Johnson said. Hotel's full of Bishop's men. Which is why we're not going through the front door. She pointed to the map. There's an old mining tunnel, runs under this part of town, connects to the hotel cellar. I found it years ago, never told anyone. Figured it might be useful someday. You've been planning for this, Samuel said, for 7 years. I've been planning for something, didn't know what. Old habits. She looked at Thomas. Your brother. How many men in the hotel? Usually 5 or 6, plus guards outside. And Hargrove. He'll be there. 2nd floor, room 21. He doesn't sleep much. War nightmares. Ellanena knew about those. She had her share. Okay. Here's what we do. Small team, 3 people. Me, Samuel, and... She looked at Thomas. You. If you want redemption, this is where you earn it. What about the rest of us? Caleb asked. You prepare defenses. If this goes wrong, Bishop will retaliate. Hard. We need fallback positions, weapons distributed, escape routes for civilians. She started assigning tasks. Who would fortify which buildings? Who would set charges in the mine tunnels? Who would prepare medical supplies? The group dispersed, moving with purpose now, fear replaced by determination. Samuel lingered. You trust the sheriff, really? No. But I understand him. Family debt. It's powerful, corrupting. He's trying to break free. Either he'll succeed or he'll die trying. Either way we use him. Cold. Necessary. Doc Wallace approached. Mrs. Wells. Ellanena. Thank you. For believing me. For promising to help Emily. I'm not doing it for you, Doc. I'm doing it because it's right. But understand something. Her voice dropped, hard. If you betray us, if you've lied, if this is a trap, I will kill you myself, slowly, painfully, clear. He nodded, pale but resolute. Clear. Good. Now get your medical supplies ready. We're going to need them. As the church emptied, Ellanena stood alone with her maps, planning, calculating. The old skills coming back like riding a horse. Footsteps on the stairs. She tensed, hand moving to her Colt. Abigail Parker descended. The school teacher, still here, should have left with the children. Miss Parker, why aren't you on the road to Silver Creek? Because I can help. She set a satchel on the table, opened it. Inside were documents, land deeds, bank records, telegraph transcripts. What is this? Evidence. My brother works for the Territorial Marshal's office in Denver. He's been building a case against Bishop for 6 months. This is everything he has. Ellanena picked up a document, read. Her eyes widened. This shows Bishop owns properties in 3 counties, all acquired through fraud, intimidation, murder. It gets better. Those aren't his only crimes. The marshal has witnesses, testimony, enough to hang him 3 times over. Why hasn't he moved? Politics. Bishop has friends, senators, judges, men in power who profit from his operation. The marshal needs an airtight case, or someone who doesn't care about politics. Someone like me. Someone exactly like you. Abigail smiled. Small, fierce. My brother said if I ever met Quicksilver Blackwood to tell her Isaac Parker sends his regards, and that the law's on her side, whatever she needs to do. Ellanena stared at the documents. This changed everything. With this evidence, even if they survived, Bishop wouldn't. The law would follow, finish what they started. Your brother, what's his name? Deputy Marshal James Parker, Isaac's nephew. He's 3 days out, coming with federal warrants, but he needs Bishop alive long enough to arrest. I'll see what I can do. No promises. That's all we can ask. Abigail moved to leave, paused. One more thing. That man you captured, Rattler. I heard what he said about Missouri, about you leaving him. You were listening. I was protecting my students. I needed to know who was in my schoolhouse. She met Ellanena's eyes. What he said. Is it true? Yes. And now you're working with him. I'm using him. There's a difference. Is there, or are you trying to make up for abandoning him? The question hit harder than Ellanena expected. What's your point, Miss Parker? My point is that guilt makes people stupid, reckless. You're planning a mission into enemy territory with a sheriff who might be compromised and a man who has every reason to want you dead. That's not strategy. That's suicide born from guilt. You're right. Abigail blinked. I am completely right, and I'm doing it anyway, because sometimes the guilt is earned, and sometimes the only way forward is through the fire that burned you. That's poetry, not tactics. Maybe, but it's the truth. Ellanena folded the documents, tucked them away. Thank you for this, for trusting me, for staying. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when we survive. If we survive. When? Abigail's smile turned fierce. I didn't teach 20 children to read just to let outlaws burn my town. We're going to win Mrs. Wells, or we're going to make them wish they'd never heard of Redemption Springs. She left. Footsteps fading up the stairs. Ellanena stood alone in the flickering lamplight, surrounded by maps and weapons and plans that might work or might kill everyone she cared about. Upstairs the church bell began to toll. Midnight, the witching hour. Time to visit the hotel. Time to see if Dr. Wallace had told the truth. Time to test whether the sheriff's loyalty had really changed. Time to walk back into hell and hope she came out the other side. She checked her Colts, loaded, ready. Checked the specialized knife at her wrist, the smoke canisters in her coat, the lockpicks, the garrote, all the tools of her old trade. 7 years she'd kept them locked away, 7 years pretending she was someone else. But tonight, Quicksilver Blackwood was going hunting, and heaven help anyone who got in her way. The mining tunnel smelled like earth and old death. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness. The sound echoed, multiplied, made it impossible to tell which direction it came from. Ellanena moved first, silent, a lantern turned down low in her left hand, Colt in her right. Behind her, Samuel breathed steady, controlled, combat breathing, something he'd learned in the war. Behind him, Sheriff Thomas Miller, nervous, his breathing too fast, too shallow. But he was here. That counted for something. How far? Samuel whispered. 200 yards. Then we hit the hotel basement. Ellanena's voice was barely audible. Stay close. Stay quiet. If I signal, freeze. They moved deeper. The tunnel was old, pre-war, dug by miners looking for silver that had never materialized. The supports were rotted, ceiling low. In places they had to duck, crawl. Ellanena's mind was working, always working, calculating distances, angles, escape routes. The tactical part of her brain that never slept. Something felt wrong. She stopped, raised her fist. Samuel and Thomas froze behind her. What is it? Thomas breathed. Too quiet. Isn't that good? No. She listened, really listened. Beyond the water, beyond their breathing. When a place should have sound, and doesn't it mean something's waiting? She turned down the lantern. Darkness swallowed them. Let her eyes adjust, shapes forming in the black. The tunnel ahead, the supports, the there, movement. 50 feet ahead, someone standing in the tunnel, not moving, just waiting. Ambush, she said. Back, now. Too late. Light blazed, lanterns uncovered, blinding after the darkness. Ellenena's hand came up to shield her eyes. When her vision cleared, she saw them. 5 men, blocking the tunnel ahead, armed, ready. Behind them she heard it. More movement. Footsteps. Splashing. Men coming from the entrance they'd used. Trapped. A voice echoed through the tunnel. Cultured. Educated. Eastern accent. Mrs. Wells. How predictable. Bishop stepped into the light. Immaculate even underground. Gray suit. No dirt. Like he'd teleported here instead of walking through mud. You think you're the first person to try this tunnel? I've owned this town for 3 days. You think I haven't explored every entrance, every exit? Doc, Samuel growled behind her. He told them. No. Thomas's voice was hollow. I did. Ellanena turned slowly, looked at the sheriff. He wouldn't meet her eyes. Thomas, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But he's my brother. I couldn't. His voice broke. He has evidence. Letters I wrote during the war to Confederate sympathizers. If those come out, I hang. Emily hangs with me, aiding the enemy. So you sold us out. I tried to warn you, tried to hint, but you wouldn't listen. You never listen. He looked up finally, tears streaming. I'm sorry. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Bishop smiled. Touching reunion, but we have business to discuss. He gestured. His men moved forward, surrounding them. Put down your weapons, slowly, or my men start shooting, and in this confined space we all die, but I have more men to spare than you do. Ellenena's mind raced. Options, probabilities, outcomes, all bad. She lowered the Colt, set it on the ground. The knife at her wrist stayed hidden. They hadn't searched her yet. Samuel did the same, one-handed, his shotgun hitting the mud with a splash. Wise choice. Bishop approached, stopped 5 feet away, studied her in the lamplight. You're not what I expected. Quicksilver Blackwood, the legendary sharpshooter. I pictured someone taller. Most people do, right before I shoot them. Humor. I like that. Shows character. He circled her. Predator assessing prey. You've caused me considerable trouble, Mrs. Wells. 2 of my men dead, 3 injured, 1 captured. And you've inspired the locals to resist. That's bad for business. Good. Is it because now I have to make an example? Show the town what happens to people who defy me. And examples are always... He paused, smiled. Messy. Footsteps from deeper in the tunnel. More of Bishop's men, dragging someone. Doc Wallace. Bloodied, beaten, barely conscious. Your doctor friend was very helpful, Bishop said. He told me about your plan, about the tunnel, about the rescue attempt. He tried to hold out, but everyone breaks eventually. You said Emily would be safe if he cooperated. I lied. Bishop shrugged. She's still alive, for now, but her usefulness has expired, like his, like yours. He drew a pistol, aimed at Doc's head. No! Ellanena lunged. Bishop's men grabbed her, held her back. She fought, useless. Too many of them. The gunshot was deafening in the tunnel. Doc's head snapped back, body crumpling, dead before he hit the ground. 1, Bishop said calmly. Who's next? The big one, the traitor. Thomas was on his knees, sobbing. You said, you promised if I helped, you'd leave Emily alone. You promised Ezekiel. And I'm a man of my word, little brother. Bishop aimed at him now. She'll be alone, after I kill everyone in this town. including you. Please, I did everything you asked. Yes, you did. And now you're a liability. Can't have traitors walking around. Bad for morale. The gunshot came, but not from Bishop. Thomas jerked, fell, blood spreading across his chest. But he wasn't dead. Not yet. Gasping, drowning in his own blood. Bishop lowered his gun. There. Now you'll die knowing you betrayed everyone. And it still wasn't enough. That's poetic justice, brother. Ellanena stopped fighting, went still, watching Thomas die. Another death on her conscience, another person who'd tried to help and paid for it. Touching, Bishop said. But let's move this along. I have questions about your past, about Quicksilver, about who you really are, and you're going to answer them, all of them. Or what? You'll kill me. You were going to do that anyway. Not you, not yet. He gestured. His men dragged someone else forward. Samuel. No. They'd separated them. When did that happen? Your loyal barkeep here. He'll die first. Slowly, painfully, while you watch, unless you cooperate. Samuel met her eyes, shook his head slightly. Don't. But she couldn't watch another person die. Not for her. Not anymore. What do you want to know? Everything. But let's start with something simple. Why here? Why Redemption Springs? Of all the places you could hide, why this backwater town? Robert, my husband, he wanted somewhere quiet, somewhere we could disappear. And before Robert, before you were Mrs. Wells, who were you? You already know. Quicksilver Blackwood, Sarah Bennett, Pinkerton operative, special assignments. The files aren't hard to find if you know where to look. I found the files. Bishop smiled. Impressive resume. 17 confirmed kills, probably more unconfirmed. You worked the Missouri operation, Kansas, Colorado, even some work down in Texas. Quite the career. Ancient history. Is it because it seems to me that career followed you here, in the form of my associate, the one you call Rattler, James Pierce, your former partner? That's between me and him. Not anymore. He's dead. The words hit like a punch. What? Found him in the root cellar this morning, throat cut, very professional. Almost like someone who knew exactly how to do it, someone with training. Ellanena's mind raced. She'd left James alive, secured but alive. Someone had killed him. Who? I didn't kill him. No, I believe you. You had plans for him, needed the information he possessed. No, someone else killed him, someone who wanted to send a message. Bishop's smile widened. Someone who's been waiting a very long time to meet you again. A new voice echoed through the tunnel, refined, military precision in every syllable. Hello, Sarah. A man stepped into the light, tall, distinguished, silver hair, military bearing, in his 50s but still strong, eyes like ice. Colonel William Hargrove. Ellanena's blood went cold. Hello, William. It's been, 8 years? You look well. Civilian life agrees with you. Wish I could say the same. Oh, I doubt that. He moved closer, studying her like a specimen. I've thought about this moment for a long time. What I'd say, what I'd do. Practiced it in my mind 1,000 times. And I'm surprised. You're not what I remembered. Smaller, older, more ordinary. People change. Not you. Not really. Because underneath that widow's disguise, you're still the same woman. The one who destroyed my life. Bishop interjected. Colonel, perhaps you'd like to share with Mrs. Wells why you're here, why you've been so eager to find her. Hargrove's expression hardened. Fort Laramie, 1874. Remember it? She did. God help her, she did. I remember. Tell them. Tell everyone what you did. It was an operation. Target acquisition. Standard Pinkerton work. Standard... His voice rose. Sharp. Angry. 8 years of rage finally surfacing. You call what you did standard. He grabbed her collar, pulled her close. Bishop's men didn't stop him. They were enjoying this. My nephew, David, 19 years old. He was there, in that warehouse, and you shot him. He was armed. He was with the target, Marcus Hargrove, your brother. He was a kid, a scared kid who didn't know what was happening. He picked up a gun, aimed it at me. I did what I was trained to do. You murdered him. The words hung in the tunnel, echo multiplying them. Murder, murder, murder. It was dark, she said quietly. Smoky, a firefight. I saw a weapon. I fired. When the smoke cleared, I saw his face, saw how young he was, but it was too late. Too late. Yes, that's the perfect phrase. Too late to save him. Too late to undo what you'd done. Too late for me to have my nephew at my table, to see him grow up, get married, have children. Hargrove released her, stepped back, composing himself. My brother Marcus was a criminal. I know that. I accepted it. But David was innocent, caught up in something he didn't understand, and you killed him. Then you testified at my court-martial, said I'd tried to protect a weapons smuggler, covered up evidence, helped him escape. You did. He was my brother. What was I supposed to do? Your duty. The slap came fast, hard. Her head snapped sideways, taste of blood in her mouth. Don't talk to me about duty. You know nothing about it. Nothing about choosing between family and law, between love and honor. Bishop cleared his throat. Fascinating as this is, we have practical matters. Mrs. Wells, or should I say Sarah, you've killed good men. Damaged my operation, cost me time and money. That requires recompense. Send me a bill. I intend to, payable in blood. He gestured to his men. Take her, and the big one. Separate cells. We'll deal with them tomorrow. Public execution. Let the town watch. Let them see what happens to heroes. They dragged her up, started pulling her deeper into the tunnel, toward the hotel basement, toward cells, toward death. Samuel fought. Even one-armed, he was strong. Took 4 men to hold him. They were beating him, rifle butts, fists. He went down, blood everywhere. Stop! Ellanena screamed. Stop it! He's done! But they didn't stop. They kept hitting, kept beating, until Samuel wasn't moving anymore, until the blood pooled around him in the mud. Enough, Bishop said. We want him alive, for now. They picked up Samuel's limp body, dragged him away. She couldn't see if he was breathing, couldn't tell if she'd just watched another person die. They threw her in a cell. Stone walls, iron bars, no windows, just darkness and the smell of mold and old fear. How long she sat there she didn't know. Time lost meaning. Could have been minutes, could have been hours. Eventually footsteps, a lantern, Hargrove standing outside the bars. I'm going to tell you something, he said. Something that might interest you. She didn't respond, just stared at the wall. Your husband, Robert Wells, the man you loved so much, the man you gave up everything for. Don't talk about him. He didn't die of tuberculosis. The words made her turn, look at him. What? The doctor was wrong, or more accurately, the doctor lied. Robert Wells died of poisoning, slow, subtle, symptoms that mimicked tuberculosis by the time anyone realized it was too late. You're lying. Am I? Ask yourself, how did a healthy 38-year-old man suddenly develop advanced consumption? How did he go from strong to dead in 3 months? Does that sound natural to you? It didn't. She'd wondered at the time, but grief had clouded her thinking, made her accept the impossible. Who? She whispered. I don't know, but I know why. Someone wanted you broken, wanted you isolated, wanted you weak. He smiled, cruel. And they succeeded. You ran here, hid here, gave up who you were, all because of a man who was murdered, and you never even questioned it. Why tell me this? Because I want you to understand. You're not special. You're not untouchable. You're just another killer who got lucky for a while. But luck runs out. And tomorrow when Bishop hangs you in the street, I'll be watching. I'll be thinking of David, and I'll finally have peace. He left, footsteps fading, lantern light disappearing. Ellanena sat in the darkness, processing, thinking. Robert, murdered. Someone had killed him, poisoned him, made it look natural. Who, why? The questions circled, unanswerable, maddening. But beneath the grief, beneath the shock, something else was building. Rage. Not the hot rage from before, the kind that makes you stupid, reckless. This was cold, calculated, the kind of rage that plans, that waits, that finds the exact right moment to strike. They thought they'd broken her, thrown her in a cell, taken her weapons, killed her friends, but they'd forgotten something. She was Quicksilver Blackwood, before she had guns, before she had training, before everything. She'd been a survivor, and survivors don't quit, they adapt. She reached into her boot. The knife was still there, small, hidden. They'd missed it in their search. She reached into her hair. The lockpicks were still there, disguised as hairpins, another thing they'd missed. She felt along her belt. The smoke canister was gone, but the flint and steel were still there, sewn into the leather, invisible unless you knew where to look. She smiled in the darkness. They'd made a mistake, a fatal one. They'd left her alive. Dawn came gray and cold, light filtering through a crack in the cell wall. Ellanena had spent the night working, testing the bars, examining the lock, planning. Footsteps announced visitors, multiple people, guards changing shift. She recognized one voice, Wade, Bishop's second, the brawler with the broken nose. Rise and shine, Quicksilver. Big day. You're the main attraction. The cell door opened. 4 men, all armed. They bound her hands behind her back. Rough, professional. Led her out. The hotel basement was larger than she'd thought. Multiple rooms, other cells. In one she saw him, Samuel, alive, barely. His face was ruined, swollen, purple. One eye completely shut, but breathing, conscious. When he saw her, he tried to smile, failed. Samuel, keep moving. Wade shoved her forward. They took her upstairs. Through the hotel, out the front door, Main Street was lined with people, the whole town, forced to watch, women crying, children hiding behind parents, men's faces hard, angry, but helpless. In the center of the street they'd built a gallows, rough, quick, but functional, 2 nooses swinging in the wind. Bishop stood at the base, dressed immaculate, like this was a ceremony, something to commemorate. Mrs. Wells, he greeted. Thank you for joining us. I thought we'd make this educational, a lesson for your friends about the cost of resistance. You're making a mistake. Am I? I have you. I have your town. I have everything. Where's the mistake? You're making me a martyr. Killing me won't stop resistance. It'll inspire it. Perhaps. But it will feel good. He turned to the crowd, raised his voice. Citizens of Redemption Springs, you've seen what happens when you defy legitimate authority. 2 days ago, this woman killed 5 of my men, destroyed property, incited violence. Today she pays for those crimes. Murder, someone shouted from the crowd. That's murder. No, it's justice, and it's final. They dragged her up the gallows steps, put the noose around her neck. The rope was rough, coarse. It bit into her skin. Wade cinched it tight, whispered in her ear, "Any last words, hero?" She looked out at the crowd, found Caleb, found Abigail, found the faces of people she'd served drinks to, people she'd called friends. "I'm sorry," she said, loud enough to carry. I failed you. I should have been faster, should have seen this coming, should have killed Bishop the moment he rode in." "That's right," Bishop shouted. "You should have. But you hesitated. You tried to be merciful, and mercy is weakness." "Maybe," she agreed. "But weakness is human, and humans endure. We bend, we break, but we come back, always." Inspiring speech. Too bad you won't be here to see if it's true. Bishop raised his hand, ready to signal, ready to drop the floor, ready to watch her die. Then the explosion came, not from the street, from underground, a massive blast that shook the entire town. The hotel swayed, windows shattered, people screamed. Bishop stumbled. "What the hell?" Another explosion, then another, the mining tunnels. Someone had set charges, was collapsing them, systematically. Chaos erupted. Bishop's men scattered, running toward the explosions, trying to figure out what was happening. Wade turned to check the disturbance. Just for a second, his attention divided. Ellanena didn't hesitate. She jumped backward off the gallows. The noose jerked tight, choking her, but her bound hands caught the rope. She'd positioned them, planned it. The knife in her boot was in her palm now, freed during the chaos. She cut the rope, fell, hit the ground hard, but free. Gunfire erupted, not from Bishop's men, from the buildings around the square. The town was fighting back. Caleb, Abigail, the Johnson brothers, others she'd talked to. They'd waited, watched, and when the moment came, they'd acted. Bishop screamed orders. "Kill them! Kill them all!" But his men were disorganized, panicked. The explosions had done more than damage. They'd destroyed the tunnel escape routes, trapped Bishop's men in town, made them vulnerable. Ellanena ran, hands still bound but feet free. She made it to cover, behind a water trough, breathing hard. The noose had left marks, would leave scars. Someone cut her bonds. She spun, ready to fight. Abigail, holding a knife, face grim. "Thought you could use help." "The explosions." "Seth Johnson. We couldn't let them execute you, so we improvised." "It's suicide. They'll kill everyone." "Maybe, but we're done being victims." Gunfire intensified. Bishop's men were recovering, forming ranks, returning fire. The townspeople were brave, but not trained, not prepared for this kind of fight. People were dying. Ellanena could see bodies, miners, shopkeepers, good people who'd picked up guns they barely knew how to use. And it was her fault, her plan, her leadership, her failure. "We can't win this," Abigail said, reading her face. "Not straight up. We need to retreat, regroup." "Where?" "Church. It's stone, defensible. We can hold there until what Marshall Parker is still days away. We're on our own." "Then we hold as long as we can." They ran, through the chaos, through the gunfire. Others joined them, fleeing townspeople, wounded, terrified. The church was already crowded. 20 people, maybe more, all seeking sanctuary. Samuel was there. Someone had dragged him from the hotel in the confusion. He lay on a pew. Doc No Doc was dead. But someone with medical training was working on him, trying to stop the bleeding from a dozen wounds. Ellanena rushed to him. "Samuel, stay with me. Stay awake." His good eye opened, focused on her. Sorry. Couldn't help. You did help. You're alive. That's what matters." "My arm." He looked down. His left arm was mangled, crushed, bone visible through torn flesh. "It's bad, isn't it?" She couldn't lie to him. "Yes. Cut it off. Have to stop infection." "Samuel, do it. Rather live one-armed than die slow." The medical volunteer, a woman named Ruth, confirmed it. He's right. The arm is too damaged. If we don't amputate, sepsis will kill him. Do it, Samuel repeated. Before I change my mind. They laid him flat, gave him whiskey, leather to bite. Then Ruth worked. Fast, professional. She'd clearly done this before. War, probably. The sound was terrible. Bone saw cutting, Samuel screaming through the leather, blood everywhere. Ellanena held his remaining hand, let him squeeze, let him transfer the pain to her. When it was done, Ruth wrapped the stump. He'll live, if infection doesn't set in, if he survives the shock, he'll live, Ellanena said, because he has to. Outside, the gunfire was constant now. Bishop's men had surrounded the church, pinning them down, testing defenses. Caleb appeared beside her. We have maybe 20 guns, limited ammunition, food and water for a day, 2 if we ration. And them, 23 men, well-armed, well-trained. They can wait us out, starve us, or burn us. Then we don't wait. What's the alternative? Ellanena looked around the church, at the frightened faces, the wounded, the dying, all because she'd given them hope, made them believe they could fight. I go out there, she said, alone, unarmed, offer to surrender in exchange for your safety. They'll kill you. Probably. Then why? Because I started this. I woke them up, made them believe. The least I can do is die for it. Abigail grabbed her arm. No, that's not the least you can do. The least you can do is fight. Keep fighting. Make them pay for every inch, every life, every moment. I'm one woman. You're Quicksilver Blackwood. You've faced worse odds. Have I, when? Every day you tried to be someone else. Every day you buried who you were. That was harder than this. Abigail's eyes blazed. So stop trying to be noble. Stop trying to die. And start being the killer who protects, the monster who saves children, the ghost who makes men afraid. The words hit home, hard, because Abigail was right. Ellanena had been trying to die well, go out like a hero, sacrifice herself. But that was the easy way, the coward's way. The hard way was to live, to fight, to become the thing she'd sworn never to be again, to be Quicksilver, fully, completely, without reservation or regret. She stood, walked to the altar, where Robert's wedding ring had fallen during the chaos. She picked it up, held it. I'm sorry, she whispered. I have to break my promise, all the way. No holding back, no mercy, no humanity. She removed the ring from the chain, set it on the altar, a symbolic death, a final goodbye. When she turned back, she was different. Everyone could see it. The last remnants of Ellanena Wells were gone. Only Quicksilver remained. New plan, she said, voice cold, hard. We don't defend, we attack. Tonight, when they think we're beaten, we hit them with everything, every gun, every blade, every ounce of hate we have. That's suicide, Caleb said. Maybe, but at least we'll die on our feet, and we'll take them with us. She looked at the gathered townspeople. Anyone who can't fight, there's a back exit. Through the crypt. It leads to the mining tunnels, not the ones we collapsed, different ones. You can get out, get away, live. No one moved. I'm serious. Leave. Save yourselves. This isn't your fight. Abigail stepped forward. Yes, it is. It's everyone's fight. Because if we let them win here, they win everywhere. So we fight, together, or we die together. But we don't run. Others nodded, murmured agreement, even the wounded, even the terrified. Ellanena felt something she hadn't felt in years. Not hope, something darker. Purpose. All right then, she said. Let's give them a war they'll never forget. Midnight came with silence, the kind of silence that happens when everyone is holding their breath, waiting, knowing. Ellanena stood in the church basement, checking weapons, distributing ammunition, planning final assignments. 18 people would fight, 5 too wounded, 7 would evacuate through the tunnels with the children. Not an army, barely a militia, just desperate people with nothing left to lose. "We have one advantage," she said, voice quiet but carrying. "They think we're trapped, think we're beaten. They're waiting for surrender or starvation. They're not expecting an attack." "Because it's insane," someone muttered. "Yes, which is why it might work." She pointed to a rough map drawn in coal on the stone wall. "Bishop's men are positioned here, and here, and here, surrounding the church. But their attention is outward, watching the doors, the windows. They're not watching each other." "What's the plan?" Caleb asked. "We divide into 3 groups. First group, led by me, goes through the crypt tunnels, comes up behind their western position. Silent kills. Take their weapons, their ammunition." She pointed to another location. Second group, led by Caleb, uses the bell tower, sniper position. You won't have many shots, but make them count. Create chaos, make them think we have more guns than we do. "And the third group?" Abigail asked. "Frontal assault, straight out the front door, guns blazing, draw their attention, while the other 2 groups hit from unexpected angles." "That's suicide," Ruth said. "Who leads that group?" Seth Johnson volunteered. "And 5 others." Ellanena met their eyes. "It is suicide. I won't lie, but it gives the rest of us a chance." Seth stepped forward, big, scarred. His brother Levi had died in the first ambush. He had nothing left but rage. "My brother died for this town. I'm willing to do the same. We all are." The 5 with him nodded, grim, resolved, already ghosts. "Then we move in 30 minutes. Say your goodbyes. Make your peace. This is the last quiet moment we'll have." People dispersed. Some prayed. Some wrote letters they'd never send. Some just sat, staring at nothing. Samuel was awake, propped against a wall, his stump wrapped in bandages already seeping red. He caught Ellenena's eye, gestured her over. "You look like death," she said, sitting beside him. "Feel worse." He tried to smile, failed. "Elle, if I don't make it, you'll make it. Let me finish. If I don't, I want you to know, these 7 years, working for you, it was the best time of my life. You saved me from the noose, from myself, gave me purpose, family." "Samuel, let me finish," he repeated, stronger now. "You think you failed us, failed Martha, failed Robert. But you didn't. You gave us something to believe in, someone who stood up when everyone else ran. That's not failure, that's heroism. Heroism is just failure that survives long enough to be remembered differently. Maybe, but I'd rather fail trying than succeed at nothing." She took his hand, the remaining one, squeezed. "When this is over, when we've won or died trying, I'm buying you the best whiskey in Colorado. I'll hold you to that." 30 minutes passed like 30 seconds. Then it was time. Ellanena gathered her group, 6 fighters, armed with knives and stolen guns. They descended into the crypt, through passages that hadn't been used in years, dust thick enough to choke, spider webs like curtains. The tunnel emerged 200 yards from the church, behind an old shed, exactly where she'd scouted weeks ago. Another old habit paying off. They moved through the darkness, silent, professional, Ellanena in front, the others following her lead. Bishop's men were visible now, 4 of them, watching the church, rifles ready, but relaxed, bored, thinking this was just guard duty. Ellanena signaled. Her team spread out, surrounding the position. She counted down on her fingers. 3, 2, 1. They struck simultaneously, Knives in the dark, hands over mouths, bodies lowered silently. 4 dead in seconds. No shots fired, no alarm raised. They took the weapons, the ammunition, the gun belts, everything useful. Phase 1 complete, Ellanena whispered. Move to Phase 2. They advanced, toward the next position. 8 men this time, harder, but still unprepared. The attack came from multiple angles, fast, brutal. Ellanena took 3 herself, close quarters, knife work, the kind of killing that required looking into eyes, watching the light fade. She felt nothing, no remorse, no satisfaction, just cold efficiency. 5 escaped, ran, shouting alarm. "Attack, they're out, they're attacking. Go loud," Ellanena ordered. Her team opened fire. No more stealth, just violence, pure and unrestrained. From the bell tower, Caleb's rifle cracked, methodical, precise. 1 shot, 1 kill, reload, another shot, another kill. The frontal assault began. Seth Johnson and his volunteers charging from the church, screaming, firing, drawing attention, drawing fire. They made it 20 yards before the return fire cut them down, all 6, dead in seconds. But they'd done their job. Bishop's men were in chaos, attacked from 3 sides, unsure where the real threat was, firing wildly, hitting each other as often as the enemy. Ellanena's team pressed, moving fast, using the confusion, taking positions, creating crossfire. But Bishop's men were professional. They recovered, started organizing. Wade's voice cutting through the chaos. "Form up defensive positions, return fire." The battle settled into brutal exchange, both sides taking casualties, buildings catching fire from muzzle flashes, smoke filling the street. Ellanena saw Abigail go down, shot through the leg, screaming. Ruth dragged her to cover, tried to stop the bleeding. She saw Caleb take a bullet, high in the chest. He slumped in the bell tower, but kept firing, kept fighting, even bleeding, even dying. She saw townspeople she knew, people who'd drunk at her bar, people who'd smiled and laughed and lived normal lives, now killing and dying in the street. The silver spur was burning now, fire spreading from a knocked lantern. The building Robert had given her, the home she'd built, going up in flames. She watched it burn, felt nothing. It was just wood, just memories, not worth a single life. Bishop appeared, surrounded by 6 men, moving toward the church, trying to end this, take the building, kill everyone inside. Ellanena intercepted, her group firing, taking down 3 of his guards, but losing 2 of her own. Now it was personal. Bishop, Wade, 2 other guards, against Ellanena and 3 townsmen. "Quicksilver," Bishop shouted over the gunfire. "This is pointless surrender. I'll let your people live." "Liar," she shouted back. What have you won here? You've killed some of my men. I've killed more of yours. Even if you win, even if you kill all of us, look at your town. Look at what you've done." She looked. Buildings burning, bodies in the street, blood running in the gutters. Everything she'd tried to protect, destroyed. "This is your fault," Bishop continued. "Your pride, your refusal to accept reality. If you'd just surrendered, accepted my offer, none of this would have happened." He was right. In a horrible way, he was absolutely right, but that didn't change what needed to be done. "You're right," she called back. "This is my fault. I underestimated you, thought I could fight smart, fight clean, but I was wrong." She stood, walked into the open, both Colts drawn. "So now I'm fighting the only way I know how. And how's that? Like someone with nothing left to lose." She fired, both guns, walking forward, shooting with precision that made even Bishop's trained guards hesitate. 1 guard fell, then another. Wade took cover, returned fire. His bullet grazed her shoulder, spinning her, but she kept moving, kept shooting. Her hammer fell on empty chambers, out of ammunition, both guns. She dropped them, drew the knife from her wrist, kept advancing. Bishop's remaining guard raised his rifle, aimed at her chest. The shot came from behind. The guard jerked, fell, dead. Ellanena turned. Colonel Hargrove stood there, smoking rifle in his hands. "What?" she started. "He was mine to kill," Hargrove said, "not some hired thugs." He tossed the rifle aside, drew a pistol, aimed at her. "Now, where were we?" "Fort Laramie, your nephew, 8 years of hate." "Yes, that." He lowered the gun slightly. "I've thought about this moment, imagined it, what I'd say, what I'd feel. Revenge, justice, closure. And watching you these past days, seeing what you've become, what you've sacrificed. It's—" He paused, searching for words. "Pointless." "What?" "Killing you won't bring David back, won't undo what happened, won't make me feel better. It'll just add another body to the pile, another ghost to carry." He holstered the pistol. "I'm tired. Tired of killing, tired of hate, tired of living for revenge. So what now? Now I help you finish what you started. Kill Bishop, save your town. Then I disappear, find some other life, some other purpose, anything but this." He moved to her side, reloading. "But understand, this doesn't make us even, doesn't forgive what you did. It just means I choose to be something other than the man who kills you." "I'll take it." Together they advanced on Bishop, who'd watched this exchange with growing disbelief. "Hargrove, what are you doing? Choosing differently?" "I paid you, hired you. You work for me. I worked for revenge. You just facilitated it. But I'm done with that now." Bishop raised his gun, fired at Hargrove. The bullet caught him in the stomach. He went down. Ellanena dove, rolled, came up with Hargrove's fallen pistol, fired. Bishop jerked, blood spreading across his chest, but he didn't fall, raised his gun again. "You think you've won?" he gasped. "Look around. Look at what winning costs." "I know the cost. Do you? How many dead? How many wounded? How many lives destroyed? And for what? For a town that'll never be the same, for people who'll never look at you without fear. Maybe, but they'll be alive to fear me. That's enough." Is it really?" He coughed, blood on his lips, dying, but still defiant. "You're no hero. You're a monster who picked the right side. Don't forget that." He fell, dead before he hit the ground. The gunfire was fading now, Bishop's remaining men either dead or fleeing. The battle was over, but the cost, God, the cost. Ellanena walked through the smoke, the fire, the bodies, counting silently. Seth Johnson, dead. His 5 volunteers, dead. 3 more townspeople she'd armed, dead. Caleb Hopkins, dying in the bell tower, blood pooling beneath him. She climbed up to him, knelt beside him. "Did we win?" he asked, voice weak, fading. "Yes. Good, good." He smiled, peaceful. "Tell Martha. Tell her I'm coming. That we won. That her death meant something. I will. And Ellanena, Mrs. Wells, whoever you are." His hand found hers, gripped weakly. "Thank you. For trying. For fighting. For caring when you didn't have to. I'm sorry it cost so much. Everything costs. It's whether you pay it that matters." He died with her hand in his. Another ghost. Another weight. She closed his eyes, stood, looked out over the town. 27 of Bishop's men. 5 escaped, 22 dead. 14 townspeople, dead defending their home. 50 buildings, a third of them burning, including the Silver Spur. including Martha's cafe, including homes and shops and lives. They'd won. Technically. Bishop was dead, his gang broken, the town free. But at what cost? What terrible, unbearable cost? She climbed down from the tower, found Samuel, still alive, barely. Ruth was with him, keeping him stable. "Is it done?" he asked. "It's done." "Then I can sleep now." "Not yet. Stay awake. Stay with me, please." "Tired, Elle. So tired." "I know, but please, I can't lose you too." His eye opened, focused on her. "Not going anywhere. Someone has to buy you that whiskey. Remember?" She laughed, or cried. Maybe both. "Yeah, someone has to." The sun was rising now, painting the smoke-filled sky in shades of red and gold. The fire was dying. The shooting had stopped. In the distance she heard it. Horses, many horses, coming fast. For a moment fear. More of Bishop's men, reinforcements. But no. These riders wore badges, federal marshals, led by a young man who looked like Judge Parker. Had to be his nephew. Deputy Marshal James Parker dismounted, looked at the carnage. His face went pale. "Jesus, what happened here?" "War," Ellanena said simply. "A very small, very ugly war." "Are you Ellanena Wells?" "I was, once. My uncle sent me, said you needed help." "Needed," past tense. She gestured at the bodies, the burning buildings. "We handled it. I can see that." He looked at her, really looked, saw the blood, the exhaustion, the 1,000-yard stare. "Are you all right?" "No, but I'm alive. That'll have to be enough." 3 days later, the fires were out, the bodies were buried, the wounded were recovering, or dying, hard to tell yet. Ellanena stood at the graveyard, looking at the rows of fresh graves. 14 townspeople, including Caleb, including Seth and his volunteers, including 3 she'd known for 7 years. Martha's grave was there too, older, but still fresh in her mind. "I'm sorry," she said to the stones. "I know that's not enough, but I don't have anything else to give." Footsteps behind her. She didn't turn, didn't reach for a weapon, didn't care anymore. Marshal Parker joined her, young, earnest, everything she used to be before the world broke her. The territorial governor sent a commendation for saving the town, fighting organized crime, service to Colorado territory. "Burn it." "Ma'am." "I said burn it. I don't want commendations. I don't want thanks. I want them back." She gestured at the graves. "Can your governor do that?" "No, no one can." "Then his commendation is worthless." Parker was quiet for a moment. Then, "We found evidence, in Bishop's camp, documents proving his crimes across 3 territories, witness testimony, banking records, enough to have hanged him 10 times over." "Good for you. You did that, gathering that evidence, keeping him alive long enough for us to find it. You stopped a criminal empire." "I got 14 people killed." "You saved hundreds, maybe thousands." "Bishop was expanding, taking over more towns. You stopped that. You should be proud." Should I be proud that I turned my home into a battlefield, that children saw their parents die, that every building on Main Street has bullet holes, that the Silver Spur is gone, that—" Her voice broke. She stopped, breathed. "I made promises," she continued quietly, "to a good man, to be someone different, someone peaceful, and I broke every one, became exactly what I swore I'd never be again. Sometimes promises need to be broken, for the right reasons. And who decides what's right, me, you, the 14 dead?" Parker had no answer, neither did she. She left him standing there, walked back toward town, what remained of it. The reconstruction had started, quickly, driven by necessity. Winter was coming. People needed shelter, needed normalcy, but it would never be the same. Everyone could see that. The town had changed. The people had changed. She passed Ruth's medical tent, heard Samuel's voice, complaining about something. That was good. Complaints meant he was healing, meant he'd live. She passed the burned shell of the silver spur. Workers were clearing it, preparing to rebuild. But it wouldn't be hers. She'd sold it. To Samuel. For $1. Let him have the dream. She was done with it. At the edge of town she'd built something. A small cabin. Just enough for one person. Far enough from the center that she didn't have to see the stairs. The fear. The gratitude mixed with horror. Because the townspeople didn't know what to do with her. She'd saved them. But she'd also terrified them. Shown them what she really was. A killer. A monster. Someone who'd walked through blood and fire and come out the other side with dead eyes. Children ran from her now. Mothers pulled them close when she passed. Men nodded respectfully, but didn't meet her eyes. She was necessary, but not welcome. Abigail visited sometimes, limping on her wounded leg, brought food, conversation, pretended things were normal. "The school's reopening next week," she said during one visit. 20 children enrolled, more than before. "Good. They want to learn about you, about Quicksilver, the legend. Tell them I'm dead. Tell them she died in the fire. It's not far from the truth. You're not dead. No, just something worse, something in between. Not dead, not alive, just existing." Abigail looked at her with concern. "You can't live like this. Isolated, alone. You need people, connection, purpose." "I had purpose, had connection. Look where it got me. It got you here, alive, with a town that owes you everything. I don't want their debt. I want—" She stopped. What did she want? "I want Robert back. Want Martha back. Want all of them back. Want to undo the last 2 weeks. Want to never have come here. Want—" "You want the impossible." "Yes." Abigail stood, prepared to leave. "Samuel asked about you. Wants you to visit. Says he's bored and Ruth won't let him drink yet." "I'll think about it. He misses you. We all do." After she left, Ellanena sat alone in the cabin, looking at the small box on the table. Inside was Robert's ring, the one she'd left on the altar. Someone had found it, returned it. She picked it up, held it to the light. The wedding band that had meant everything, that had represented a different life, a different her. She put it on her finger, beside the other ring, the one she'd always worn as Quicksilver. 2 rings, 2 lives, 2 women who couldn't exist together but couldn't exist apart. "I don't know how to do this," she whispered to the empty room. "Don't know how to be both. Don't know how to live with what I've done, what I've become." The room had no answers, just silence, and the weight of choices that couldn't be unmade. 2 weeks later, Samuel was walking now, slowly, learning to balance without his left arm. He'd stopped complaining, started joking instead. That was progress. "So I was thinking," he said, visiting her cabin. "The new silver spur needs a partner, someone who knows the business, someone with experience." "Not interested." "Didn't think you would be, but the offer stands. Doors always open, if you change your mind." "I won't." "Probably not, but maybe." He smiled, lopsided, genuine. "Besides, someone needs to teach me to pour drinks one-handed. You're the only person I trust not to laugh. I make no promises." He laughed, left her alone again, but his words stayed. Doors always open. Maybe, possibly, if, small words, but they carried weight. She walked into town that evening, first time in days. People still stared, still pulled children close, but less now. Time was healing some wounds, not all, but some. She stood where the Silver Spur had been, where Martha's Cafe had been, where so much had been lost. Marshall Parker approached. "We're leaving tomorrow, heading back to Denver. Wanted to say goodbye. Safe travels. Your commendation. I know you don't want it, but it's being recorded. Officially, Quicksilver Blackwood, hero of Redemption Springs." "I'm not Quicksilver anymore." "No. Then who are you?" "Good question. The best question." "I don't know yet," she admitted, still figuring it out. "Well, whoever you become, the law's on your side. Judge Parker made that clear. If you ever need help, or work, or just someone who understands, we're there." "Noted." He tipped his hat, rode away with his men, back to civilization, back to the world where things made sense. Ellanena remained, standing in the ruins, watching the sun set over the mountains, painting everything in shades of fire and gold. She heard footsteps, multiple people, turned, ready for anything, but it was just townspeople, 10 of them, led by Abigail. They carried something, a wooden sign, hand-carved, painted. They set it in the ground where the Silver Spur had stood. The sign read, "In memory of those who fought, 1879, Redemption Springs will not forget." Below that names, all 14, including Caleb, including Seth, including Martha, and at the bottom, one more line. "Protected by Sarah Quicksilver Bennett Wells, may she find the peace she gave us." Ellanena stared at it, throat tight, eyes burning. "We thought you should know," Abigail said, "that we remember, that we're grateful, that you're welcome here, always. I killed people, destroyed the town, cost you everything. You saved us, gave us a chance, showed us we could fight. That's worth remembering." The others nodded, murmured agreement. Not fear now, just acceptance, recognition. She was still a killer, still dangerous, still broken in ways that wouldn't heal. But she was their killer, their protector, their ghost. And maybe, possibly, that was enough. "Thank you," she said finally. "For this, for understanding, for not hating me." "We could never hate you," Abigail replied. "We just needed time to process, to understand, to grieve. And now we rebuild, together, if you're willing." Ellanena looked at the sign, at the names, at the legacy of choices that couldn't be unmade. Robert had wanted her to be peaceful, to leave Quicksilver behind, to be just Ellanena. But maybe that was the wrong dream. Maybe peace wasn't the absence of violence. Maybe it was learning to live with both parts of yourself, the killer and the protector, the monster and the guardian. Maybe redemption wasn't about forgetting who you were, but accepting it and choosing daily to be better, to use those dark skills for something bright. "I'm willing," she said, "but I can't be just Ellanena, and I can't be just Quicksilver. I have to be something else, something new." "So be that. Be someone new. Be whoever you need to be." She nodded, felt something shift inside. Not healing, but acceptance. The beginning of integration. "Okay, then let's rebuild." They walked back into town together, into the evening, into whatever future awaited. The scars would remain, the nightmares, the weight of 14 graves, 22 more, the knowledge of what she was capable of when pushed. But she'd carry it, because that's what survivors did. They carried the weight and kept walking, kept choosing, kept trying to be better than yesterday. Robert's ring stayed on her finger, but so did Quicksilver's. 2 rings, 2 lives, one woman trying to forge something new from the ashes of both. Now. You might think that's the end of the story. Woman fights, woman wins, woman lives with consequences. Simple, clean, Western justice. But here's the thing about Redemption Springs, about what happened there in October of 1879. It wasn't about winning. Never was. It was about the price. The cost of standing up when standing up means losing everything. Ellanena Wells made a promise to the man she loved to be peaceful, to leave violence behind, to be someone gentle and kind. And she broke that promise, completely, utterly. But in breaking it, she kept a deeper promise, one she'd never spoken out loud. The promise to protect, to defend, to be the monster that keeps other monsters away from the innocent. See, that's what they learned in Redemption Springs, and what we're still learning in 2026. Sometimes the promises we make, the ones about who we'll be, how we'll live, what we'll never do again, sometimes those promises have to break, have to shatter, so something more important can survive. In 2026, we face different enemies, not gunfighters, not outlaws, but the same essential choice: when your job demands you compromise your values, when protecting your family means sacrificing your mental health, when standing up for what's right means losing what's comfortable, when everyone around you is suffering and you're the only one who can help. But helping means becoming something you swore you'd never be. What do you do? Do you keep the promise to yourself? Stay pure, stay clean, stay safe. Or do you break it, get dirty, get scarred, get broken, so others don't have to? Ellanena chose, and she lived with it. Not happily, not without nightmares, not without carrying those 14 graves in her heart every single day for the rest of her life. But she lived, and so did the children, and so did the town, and sometimes, in this broken world, that's the only kind of redemption available, not the clean kind, not the kind that makes you feel good, the kind where you save others by sacrificing yourself, where you become what you hate so they don't have to, where you carry the darkness so they can walk in light. They say Ellanena Wells lived another 30 years in Redemption Springs, never remarried, never left, wore both rings until the day she died. Robert's and Quicksilver's, 2 lives, 2 promises, both kept, both broken. The town thrived, grew, prospered, because she'd given them the gift of safety, of knowing someone was watching, someone who'd done terrible things and would do them again, if necessary. Some call that heroism, others call it tragedy, but I think it's just life, real life, where choices aren't clean, where doing right doesn't feel good, where saving people costs you pieces of your soul you never get back. So if you're facing that choice, that moment where all the easy options are gone and only hard ones remain, where keeping one promise means breaking another, where protecting others means destroying yourself, remember Redemption Springs, remember Ellanena Wells, remember that sometimes the cost of peace is war, the cost of safety is sacrifice, and the cost of redemption is everything you have. She paid it, and she'd do it again, because some promises are kept by breaking them, and some women were made to stand between the darkness and the light, even when it burns them, even when it breaks them, even when it costs them everything they thought they were, especially then. That's the legend of Redemption Springs. That's the story of the widow who wouldn't let her town die, even though it killed who she'd been trying to become. Some say on quiet nights, when the wind blows through those Colorado mountains, you can still hear the echo of her Winchester, still see her shadow on the roof of the rebuilt Silver Spur, still feel her watching, making sure the darkness stays where it belongs, making sure her town, her people, her sacrifice meant something, and maybe, just maybe, finding her own redemption in the watching, one night at a time, one choice at a time, one promise broken to keep another. That's how legends are born, and that's how they endure.